Look at him, he's like an angry little marshmallow thing.
Oh, I'm a mad little marshmallow. Oh, I'm so mad.
Boy, we sure have come a long way in the past year with Nintendo, haven't we? About a year ago I put out a video called Why Nintendo Makes Us Sad. But in that video I sort of talked about why it felt like Nintendo was mistreating the Wii U, and in turn mistreating its hardcore fans, because the hardcore fans were the people who owned the Wii U, and yet they weren't getting any exciting games really in that last year and a half or so of the Wii U's life cycle. And then there was other just stupid things like forced ways of using the gamepad, like in Star Fox Zero. But back then there was a lot of speculation about what we used to refer to as the NX, and we now know as the Nintendo Switch. Back then we knew basically nothing about the Nintendo Switch, and in fact we thought this thing was going to be it, and we were rightfully terrified if that ended up being the case. But luckily it didn't, and we have this beautiful baby back here. Beautiful little baby boy. But now here we are a year after my last video on Nintendo, and it's time to see how things have changed since then. Okay, it's been 15 months, but I didn't get a Switch till now, so... When Nintendo first announced the Switch and we saw what it could do, it took the gaming world by storm. Whether it was people who couldn't wait to get their hands on this thing, or people who just saw it as the next Wii U, basically everybody who was into video games had something to say or some kind of opinion about it, because, I mean, how could you not? This was something brand new from Nintendo, of all companies, and it was just something basically like we hadn't really seen in the mainstream gaming market before. But now here we are 6 months after the Switch has released, and you still can't even find the thing on store shelves. That may have a little more to do with the overwhelming demand and Nintendo's underwhelming ability to supply, which, you know, is something that Nintendo has kind of always needed work on lately. I gotta say, I've had this thing for about 2 weeks now, and I really like it. The way you can just go into the game from the sleep mode, or exit the game to check out the eShop or something, and then head back into the game with almost no loading time in between, other than the eShop. That's just mind-blowing to me. I, like most people, mostly play the Switch in handheld mode, but the fact that I can easily just pop it into the dock whenever I want to play on the TV, or play with my wife, or record game footage, anything like that, and it's just seamless and quick. You don't have to buy like a second thing, and it all is included. That's just really awesome and impressive in my opinion. Admittedly, the Switch does have its flaws. I'm not a big nut for power when it comes to console gaming, because you're really not even gonna get all the power you need in console games anyway. It is a handheld. Everything is in here. You know, the brain, the heart, the muscle, everything is in the actual handheld, just like the Vita, or the PSP, or the 3DS, or 2DS in my case. There's nothing from the dock that adds to this. There's not like an external box like the Wii U that feeds information to this screen. It's all in here. But yeah, because of the fact that it's a handheld, while it is powerful, it's still not as powerful as like the PS4, for example. In addition to the lower comparative performance, the Switch is also very bare bones right now. Nintendo has said that they're going to be adding more, like with the paid online service and whatnot. There's more features and stuff that are going to come out. Obviously, since the system is only 6 months old, the eShop does feel a bit barren, especially if you take out the astounding number of Neo Geo ports in the eShop, of which there are quite a few. There's also no voice chat for games. There's only really 1, maybe 2 games that could even bother to use it right now, the most important of which being Splatoon 2. And they do have a sort of a solution for Splatoon 2's voice chat lack, but in the previous video I talked about the weird controlling options for the Wii U and playing Wii games and stuff, but that's really not as confusing as this. I mean, you have to buy this headset that comes with this little arrow shaped, I guess it's supposed to be a squid, but it looks like an arrow. And then you plug one cable into the Switch and then another cable into your phone, and you download an app to do voice chat. Yeah. Nobody wants to do that. Hopefully they improve upon that and make it a lot easier, where you can just kind of plug directly into the Switch with one single headset. In the future, that would be great, Nintendo. So what about the games? Admittedly, if you go to GameStop or Best Buy or anything like that right now, the game selection for physical games on the Switch is going to look pretty barren, at least at first. But what the physical collection of Switch games right now lacks for in quantity, it makes up for in quality, for the most part. I mean, you have, of course, Breath of the Wild right here, you have Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the new Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle that just came out this week, which I plan to hopefully eventually pick up. But yeah, while some of the games are probably a little overpriced, they are, at least for the most part, decent to great, with the exception of just a couple games. Now, physical games aside, this thing has a ton of great games on the eShop, ranging anywhere from $5 to $30. You have games like Mighty Gun Volt Burst, which I just reviewed last week, so you can check that out if you want. You also have Sonic Mania available on the Switch. I mean, sure, you can get it anywhere else for the same price, but it is on the Switch, and you do have the advantage of playing it on handheld mode. So, that's cool, right? And there are so many great looking games that I just would really like to try. And there's this game Kamiko that is only $5, which from what I've heard from a lot of people is well worth that $5, despite the fact that it's a very short game. And then you already have the well-established popular indie games like Shovel Knight and Minecraft, which I guess isn't really indie anymore because of Microsoft. Not really indie. SteamWorld Dig 2. How could I forget about SteamWorld Dig 2? It's not out yet, but it is coming soon, and I did really love the original. In fact, I talked about it on an episode of Games You Should Play. You should check that out too if you want. All I can say is when I look through that eShop, it's very interesting. It makes me go, oh. And again, this thing is only 6 months old. There are a ton of games down the pipeline within the next couple of months. I mean, aside from ports like Pokken Tournament, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, Axiom Verge, and Rhyme, you've got all the original Switch exclusive games that are coming out. In October, you have Fire Emblem Warriors, and then Super Mario Odyssey a week later, which is dumb because it's totally going to cannibalize Fire Emblem Warriors. Don't really get that decision, but Super Mario Odyssey, I'm so excited for that. And then Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is supposed to come out later this year. We'll see, but it is supposed to come out later this year. And that's not even taking into consideration the future of the Switch. We already know that Metroid Prime 4 is coming, and then Pokemon RPG is coming. I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff that I'm forgetting right now that are all coming. And I'm just super excited to see the future of the Switch. I really want this thing to continue to succeed because I don't want it to be like the stepchild that gets neglected and left in the attic, like the Wii U. I know I mentioned a lot of negatives about the Switch, but I mean, you kind of have to mention the negatives if you're going to mention the positives. And personally, I think that I think it has the potential to become my favorite handheld. So yeah, Nintendo has made a lot of strides and come a long way in the past 15 months. Let's just, let's not think about the Super Nintendo Classic. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more, feel free to check out one of these other videos you see here on the screen, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can also follow me by looking up The Portly Gamer on the social networks below.